Thomas and Friends, Best Birthday Ever by Christy Webster, illustrated by Tommy Stubbs. It was a very special day on the island of Sodor. It was Thomas's birthday. Thomas's friends couldn't wait to celebrate. They each had a very special delivery to make for the big birthday party. Percy was coupled with a flatbed so he could pick up the cake. Rebecca was hooked up to 2 coaches so she could pick up the party guests. Emily was joined with 1 flatbed and 1 coach so she could pick up the band and their instruments. But when the station master arrived, he looked very confused. "I'm sorry, engines," he said. "I've lost my schedule for today. One of you is supposed to go to the docks, 1 to Knapford, and 1 to the castle, but I don't remember who needs to go where." The engines decided to split up and try their best. They wanted to save the best birthday ever. Percy went to Knapford first. "Is the cake here?" he asked the porters. "There's no cake here," said a man. "We're the band." He tooted his horn happily. "Can you give us a ride to the party, Percy?" Percy didn't have any coaches, only a flatbed. "I can take your instruments," he said. Percy chugged away with the instruments. He wondered if he would have time to pick up the cake. Suddenly, Harold flew by. "Harold, can you help?" Percy asked. "I'm supposed to pick up a cake for Thomas, but I don't know where it is. It must be at the docks or the castle." "I'll do my best," Harold said. He wanted Thomas to have the best birthday ever. Meanwhile, Rebecca arrived at the castle, hoping to find the party guests. But she only saw the baker. "This cake needs to get to Thomas's party," the baker cried. "Percy is late." Rebecca only had coaches. She wasn't sure how to carry the cake. Just then, Harold arrived. "I'll take the cake," he said. "I think Percy needs help at Knapford with the band." Rebecca hurried away. Emily found the party guests waiting at the docks. "Get these guests to the party," Cranky said. "But I only have 1 coach," Emily said. "I can take half." Half the guests quickly climbed on. The conductor welcomed the passengers, took their tickets, and helped them find their seats. The porters carried the luggage. All the engines hurried as fast as they could with their cargo. They wanted Thomas to have the best birthday ever. When the engines arrived at the party, they saw the station master there. "What are we missing?" he asked. "The band is here," said Rebecca. "I've got the instruments," peeped Percy. "And here comes Harold with the cake." "I've got some of the guests," added Emily. "Oh no! The rest of the guests! Half of them were still at the docks waiting to be picked up." All 3 engines raced back to the docks. They wanted to be sure that all of Thomas's guests would make it to the party. Time was running out. But when they arrived at the docks, they only saw balloons. Hundreds of balloons. "The guests are already on their way," Cranky said. "But here, take these presents and as many of these balloons as you can. They are a surprise for Thomas. Hurry!" The engines hurried back to the party with their coaches and flatbeds overflowing with balloons. When they arrived, they were the ones to be surprised. There was Thomas with the other guests. "I saw these guests waiting at the docks," said Thomas. "They needed a special ride." "Hooray!" Rebecca, Emily, and Percy cheered. "Happy birthday, Thomas!" Thomas loved the balloons. He loved the cake. He loved the band. He loved the whole party. He didn't know the engines had such a mixed-up day. Thomas only knew it was his best birthday ever. Thanks for watching. Click subscribe. Clark the Shark, written by Bruce Hale, illustrated by Guy Francis. In all the wide blue seas, in all the wide blue world, the top school for fish was Theodore Roosterfish Elementary. And of all the fish at Theodore Roosterfish, the biggest and the strongest was Clark the Shark. Clark loved school, and he loved his teacher, Mrs. Inky-Dink. He loved to play upsy-downsy and spin-a-majig with his friends. Clark loved his life. "School is awesome!" shouted Clark the Shark. "Less shouting, more reading," said Mrs. Inky-Dink. "Lunchtime is sweet!" yelled Clark the Shark. "Munch your own lunch," said his best friend Joey Mackerel. "Recess rocks!" bellowed Clark the Shark. "You are playing rough, Clark," cried the other kids. Yes, Clark loved his life with all of his sharky heart. but he loved everything way too much. He was too loud, he was too wild, he was just too much shark for the other fish to handle. After a while, no one would play with Clark. No one ate lunch with him, no one sat with him at circle time. Even his best friend, Joey Mackerel, said, "Cool your jets, Clark, you're making me crazy." One day, Clark asked Mrs. Inky Dink, "What's wrong with everyone?" Mrs. Inky Dink patted his fin. "Clark, sometimes you play too hard. You munch too hard, and gosh, you even help too hard." "But life is so exciting," said Clark. "There's a time and a place for everything," said Mrs. Inky Dink. "And sometimes the rule is stay cool." At recess, Clark tried to stay cool, but he pushed the swing with too much zing. "Sorry," said Clark. "I forgot." "Yikes!" cried Joey Mackerel. At lunch, Clark tried to stay cool, but everything smelled so good that he munched a bunch of lunches. "Sorry," said Clark. "I forgot." "We're starving," said his friends. In class, Clark tried to stay cool, but a good book got him all shook up. "Now, Clark," said Mrs. Inky Dink, "this isn't the time or the place. Tell me, what's the rule?" "Stay cool," said Clark. "Hey, that rhymes," he cried. Then Clark got a big idea in his sharky head. "Maybe if I make a rhyme, I'll remember every time," he thought. The next day, he put his plan to work. In class, when lessons got exciting, Clark wanted to bounce up out of his seat. Instead, he told himself, "When teacher's talking, don't go walking." And what do you know? It worked! "Attaboy, Clark," said Mrs. Inky Dink. Clark smiled. Lessons are fun. At lunch, everything smelled so yummy. When Clark wanted to eat and never stop, he told himself, "Only munch your own lunch." And it worked again! "Way to go, Clark," said his friends. Clark grinned. Lunch is fun. At playtime, Clark told himself, "Easy does it. That's the way. Then my friends will let me play." And playtime was fun. Once more, Clark loved his life. But then, a shadow fell across the playground. A ginormous shadow with tentacles galore. "It's a new kid, and he looks scary," cried Joey Mackerel. "Swim for your lives!" The squid squashed the slide, and it snapped off the swings. "Oops, my bad," said the new kid. "Wait," said Clark. "He just wants to play. Let's find a way." And he swam at the new kid with all his might. Clark played harder than he ever had before. Upsy-downsy and spin-a-ma-jig. Why, he even made up a new game. Tail-wumpa-lumpus. "Wow, that was fun," said the new kid breathlessly, and he settled down. "If you want to come to school, you've got to stay cool," said Clark. "That's right, Clark," said Mrs. Inky Dink, "and thanks for taking care of our new classmate, Sid the Squid." "Hooray for Clark the Shark!" everyone cheered. That night, Clark's mother asked, "What did you learn at school, dear?" "There's a time and a place for everything," Clark said. "Sometimes you stay cool. But sometimes a shark's gotta do what a shark's gotta do." Thanks for watching. Click subscribe. Dancing Hands, How Teresa Carreño Played the Piano for President Lincoln by Margarita Engel and Rafael Lopez. When Teresa was a little girl in Venezuela, Mama sang lullabies while Papa showed Teresita how to let her happy hands dance across all the beautiful dark and light keys of a piano. At first, making music seemed magical, but Teresa soon learned that playing a piano could be hard work. Sometimes she had to struggle to make the stubborn music behave as she practiced gentle songs that sounded like colorful birds singing in the dark and light branches of a shade-dappled mango tree, and powerful songs that roared like prowling jaguars beside towering waterfalls in a mysterious green jungle. If Teresa felt sad, music cheered her, and when she was happy, the piano helped her share bursts of joy. By the time she was 6, she could write her own songs, and at 7 she performed in the peaceful chapel of a magnificent cathedral, playing hymns that shimmered like hummingbirds. Music was Teresita's delight, but suddenly, when she was 8, a war changed everything. Guns blazed, swords flashed, and poor Papa had to rush the whole family down to the seashore and onto a ship, into a storm where wind howled, waves rolled, barrels tumbled, ropes snapped, and clouds bucked and kicked across the wild sky like angry mules. By the time the ship arrived in New York, Teresa felt lost. She was homesick. How could she ever play happy songs again in this unfamiliar country where she did not know a single friend? Few people spoke Spanish, and all around her, curious strangers stared and whispered as if her whole family belonged in a museum of oddities. Worst of all, there was fighting here, too. The horrible Civil War, North battling South, as soldiers marched and newspaper boys hollered about victories, defeats, funerals, and fears. Without a new piano, Teresa would have felt even more lonely, but soon she discovered that wherever one is, some people are friendly, drawn together by songs. Musicians came to her home, playing along while they listened to the dazzling notes of her dancing hands. Determined to improve, Teresa practiced graceful waltzes and sonatas, booming symphonies, and lively folk songs, her strong hands accepting the challenge of life's many dark and light moods. People began to call her the Piano Girl. Her picture was in the newspaper and on posters advertising concerts, where she performed with great orchestras that invited her to play solos. Teresa triumphed in enormous theaters where children clapped and cheered while their parents stood up and tossed roses. With Papa at her side, she traveled to elegant cities, and by the time she was 10, the Piano Girl grew so famous that she received amazing invitations, including one so special that she could hardly believe her eyes. President Abraham Lincoln wanted her to play for his whole family at the White House. But the country was still at war, so Teresa arrived in Washington, D.C. at a time when freed slaves were signing up to be soldiers. The injured moaned, the nurses groaned from the sheer weariness of caring for so many fevers and wounds. Not long ago, the president's young son had fallen sick and had died. Men argued about battles lost, battles won, speeches made, victory delayed. Teresa began to worry. How could music soothe so much trouble? Poor Abraham Lincoln. Teresa hoped she could entertain the president, his grieving wife, and their 2 surviving sons. Her fingers might stumble, the rhythms emerging too slow or too fast. But Teresa was brave, and she believed in trying her best, so she entered the White House silently, clutching Papa's hand fiercely as they stepped into a room so red that it looked like a storm or a sunrise. Teresa remembered how it felt to be a homeless refugee and how lonely she had been, surrounded by strangers, some of them rude and others kind. The memory of meeting past challenges now helped her fingers dance, celebrating the way life had turned out to be a mixture of all sorts of feelings, happy and sad. But the piano was poorly tuned, making her music sound ugly. What should she do? Refuse to play? She stopped, feeling discouraged, until Mr. Lincoln smiled kindly and asked for his favorite song. Listen to The Mockingbird. Teresa knew she could play this lively piece even on an imperfect piano, so her fingers leaped across all the glorious dark and light keys, improvising the way mockingbirds do, the melody changing as she went along. Music swirled, twirled, and soared on wings of sound. The president listened quietly to notes that rose, swayed, rippled, and dipped like a bird in a blue sky above a green forest. He closed his eyes, nodded his head, stretched his long fingers, and tapped the tips of his shiny shoes. When the joyful song ended, Abe Lincoln stood up and clapped, smiling at the piano girl, who smiled too, because she knew that her music had brought comfort to a grieving family, at least for one brief, wonderful evening of dancing hands. From then on, Teresa felt certain she would always be bold enough to share her musical courage anywhere in the world, simply by letting her fingers travel across all the beautiful dark and light moments of hope. Thanks for watching. Click subscribe. See you later, alligator. If Sharks Disappeared by Lily Williams. This is a healthy ocean. It's a balanced environment where many different animals and plants thrive. The ocean is home to a lot of creatures. Big, small, slimy, cute, and scary. Sharks have helped keep our oceans balanced for about 450 million years. Over that time, they evolved into the more than 400 different species that exist today. Sharks are apex predators, which means they are at the top of the food chain in their ecosystem, the ocean. Losing an apex predator species can cause devastating effects in an environment. Today, roughly between 1/4 and 1/3 of shark species are vulnerable to extinction because of overfishing. What could happen if this continues and sharks disappear altogether? If sharks disappeared, the ocean would no longer be balanced. Although different species have different diets, most sharks typically eat sick, slow, or weak prey, leaving the healthy animals to reproduce. If sharks disappeared, the populations of seals, sea lions, and other pinnipeds would potentially explode. At higher populations, they would eat more and more fish, and eventually, once there were any fish left, they'd starve and die out as well. If fish and pinnipeds disappeared, plankton, which is what many fish that are lower on the food chain eat, could quickly grow out of control. That could make the ocean a thick sludge. Nothing could survive in this water if the ocean became unlivable. Many species of land animals that rely on the ocean for food, such as seabirds and polar bears, could starve and die out. The loss of those animals could cause still more species farther inland to die out. This pattern of cause and effect, called a trophic cascade, could spread like a wave across countries and continents until animals around the globe were affected, from bees to birds to bears and eventually to us. All species depend on one another to survive by keeping our planet's ecosystems in balance. And luckily, today, sharks still exist. Sharks inhabit all the oceans on Earth. If we remember that we are all connected, and if we work together, sharks and our whole planet as we know it will thrive. And maybe we'll see that what once seemed so scary isn't so scary after all. Thanks for watching. Click subscribe. Misunderstood Shark, written by Amy Dykman, illustrated by Scott Magoon. Here we go. Underwater World with Bob, broadcasting live in 3, 2, 1. Hey, who did this? Misunderstood Shark, starring Shark. Hello, people. Today on Underwater World with Bob, fun facts about Shark! Shark! The people are watching. Don't eat that fish in front of the people. The people can see me. You misunderstood. I wasn't gonna eat him. I was just showing him my new tooth. Fun fact about that, sharks can grow and lose 30,000 teeth in their lifetime. Can I faint now? 30,000? Shark's tooth fairy must be exhausted. Fine, Shark. Maybe you weren't going to eat that fish. Shark? Where's Shark? Oh, no. Shark! Not the baby seal! Don't eat the baby seal in front of the people! The people? You misunderstood. I wasn't gonna eat her. I was just helping her find her family. Thanks, Mr. Shark. You're my favorite. You're my favorite, too. Fun fact about that. A great white shark can eat 22,000 pounds of food in a year, and seals are their favorite. What did the shark say after he met a seal? Burp. People, I may have misunderstood Shark. Shark? Where's Shark now? What is it, Shark? Sniff. What do you smell, Shark? Tell us what you smell, Shark. I smell blood. Oh, fun fact about that. Some sharks can smell a single drop of blood in a million drops of water. Forget the fact he smells blood! Get out of his way! No, Shark! Don't eat the people in front of the people! Blood, 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 blood! I brought boo-boo strips! Shark! Run for your lives! Wait, I was just trying to help, but the people misunderstood me too. The ocean gets its saltiness from the tears of misunderstood sharks. I read that somewhere. All 3 of my little squid hearts are breaking. I wasn't going to eat the people. I wasn't even going to bite them a little. People, I know sharks can seem scary, but you're actually thousands of times more likely to be bitten by another person than bitten by a shark. That's a fact. People bite each other? Maybe they taste like chicken. And there you have it, folks. Sharks really are just misunderstood. I need a hug. Don't look at us when it comes to hugs. Squids stink. 'Cause if you squeeze us, we ink. I suppose I could. Hug time! This is nice. This is nice. You smell good. Uh-oh, I can't watch. Nope. You ate me! I can't believe you really ate me! In front of the people? You misunderstood again. I didn't eat you. I'm just playing hide and seek with you. Wanna play? Ah! Goodbye, people. Tune in next time for more fun facts and an inside view of our underwater world. When you talk, it tickles. That's a wrap. Thanks for watching. Click subscribe. National Geographic Kids, Sharks by Anne Schreiber. Chomp. What is quick? What is quiet? What has 5 rows of teeth? What glides through the water? Chomp. It's a shark. Sharks live in all of Earth's oceans. They have been here for a long time. Sharks were here before dinosaurs. Oceanic white-tip shark. Word bites. Cartilage. Cartilage is light, strong, and rubbery. The tip of your nose is cartilage. Can you feel how soft it is? A shark is a fish, but a shark is not like other fish. Sharks do not have bones. They have soft cartilage instead. Cartilage helps sharks twist and turn. Cartilage helps sharks move and bend. Shark skin feels bumpy and rough. It's hard like sandpaper. It protects sharks and helps them swim faster. If a shark loses a tooth, a new one moves forward to take its place. Shark tail fins are larger on top. This helps them move through the water better. This is a photograph of a hammerhead shark. Shark pups. Shark babies are called pups. Some pups grow inside their mothers. Other pups hatch from eggs. Lemon shark pups grow inside their mothers. The lemon shark mother goes to shallow water to give birth. The pups stay near the shallow water until they are grown. These fish are called remoras. They hang around sharks and eat their leftovers. This right here is a lemon shark pup. This is the mama lemon shark. What do you call a shark baby from the Arctic? A popsicle. Swell shark pups hatch from eggs. The mother sharks lay the eggs in hard cases. People call the case a mermaid's purse. Swell shark mothers lay up to 5 egg cases at a time. In 9 months, the swell shark pups are born. Swell shark pup, sneaking out right there. And this is a mermaid's purse. Pups grow up. Word bites. Predators. Animals that eat other animals. Prey. Animals that are eaten by other animals. When shark pups grow up, they are awesome predators. They have many ways to sense their prey. Did you know a shark can smell blood from miles away? It can smell 1 drop of blood in 25 million drops of ocean. This is a photograph of a nurse shark. Sharks can see better than humans can. Even in deep, dark water, a shark can see its prey. Sharks take a test bite of prey before eating. Their taste buds tell them if the prey is fat enough to eat. This is a photograph of a great white shark. Ready for a joke? What is a great white's favorite candy? A jawbreaker. What big teeth you have! Sharks have many rows of teeth. They are always losing some teeth. They're always growing new teeth. A shark uses up more than 10,000 teeth in its life. This is a sand tiger shark. Look at those sharp teeth. Do you see the several rows of teeth that they have? Different sharks have different teeth. Their teeth are perfect for what they eat. Long spiky teeth are for catching. Flat teeth are for grinding. Serrated teeth are for ripping. Word bites. Serrated. When something is serrated, it has a jagged edge like a saw blade. Word bites. Prehistoric. Prehistoric is a time before people wrote things down. Extinct. Extinct plants and animals are no longer alive on Earth. Wow, prehistoric sharks had really big teeth, up to 6 inches. Good thing these guys are extinct. This is a megalodon tooth. The megalodon is a prehistoric shark. Scientists made a life-size model of the megalodon's jaw and put in the teeth they have found. You can imagine how big the shark must have been. Imagine this. A giant shark is gliding through the water. A swimmer is nearby. The shark gets closer. It is huge. It opens its giant mouth and sucks in a big mouthful of water. The swimmer is fine. The shark is a whale shark. Whale sharks are the biggest sharks, but they have tiny teeth. They eat tiny animals called plankton. This is a photograph of a whale shark. Blue ribbon sharks. There are about 375 different types of sharks. A hammerhead shark has a head shaped like a giant hammer. Its wide head is great for hunting. The spined pygmy shark is about 8 inches long. It has a glow-in-the-dark belly. Creepiest, the great white shark. When a great white bites its prey, its eyes roll back into its head. This protects its eyes. The fastest shark, the mako shark. The mako is the fastest shark. It can swim up to 20 miles per hour. Makos leap clear out of the water to catch prey. Are you ready for another joke? How did the hammerhead do on the test? He nailed it. Now you see them. Some sharks glow in the dark. Do you see something shiny in the water? Watch out! The tiny lantern shark is covered with a glow-in-the-dark slime. The lantern shark is a deep-sea shark. Many deep-sea animals glow. Scientists think glowing might help predators attract prey. Lantern shark. Now you don't. Most sharks are hard to see. They have a dark back. From above, they blend in with the water. They have a white belly. From below, they blend in with the sky. Some sharks have special ways to hide. Wobbegongs have colors like the sea floor. Their mouths have parts that look like seaweed. Fish swim in, but they can't get out. Wobbegong shark. Shark attack. One day, Bethany Hamilton went surfing. Suddenly, a tiger shark attacked. It tugged her as she held onto her surfboard. It took a big bite out of her surfboard. It also took Bethany's left arm. After the attack, Bethany wanted to keep surfing. She is not afraid to go in the water. She knows that shark attacks are rare. Bethany says, "One thing hasn't changed, and that's how I feel when I'm riding a wave." People attack? Shark attacks are scary and terrible. Sharks can be a danger to people, but people are a bigger danger to sharks. Millions of sharks die in nets set to catch other fish. Others are killed on purpose. Many types of sharks may become extinct. Sharks have been on Earth for millions of years. Sharks and people need to learn to share the sea. Gray reef shark. Thanks for watching. Click subscribe. Nugget and Fang, Friends Forever, or Snack Time, by Tammy Sauer and Michael Slack. In the deep, deep ocean lived two best friends, Nugget and Fang. They did everything together. They swam over, glug. They swam under, glug, glug. They swam all around, glug, glug, glug. Life was close to perfect. Until it was time for Nugget to go to school. On Monday, Nugget was busy with reading. Today's story is about 3 little minnows and a big, bad shark. A big, bad shark? Ha! Said Nugget. Impossible. Nugget was busy with math. 1 plus 1 equals 2. 2 plus 2 equals 4. But what if there were 10 minnows and a shark came along and ate 4 of them? How many minnows are left? Is this a trick question? A shark would never do that, said Nugget. And Nugget was busy with science. Sharks are scary. Here's the proof. Marine food chain. Shark. The stuff on that poster isn't true, said Nugget. My best friend is a shark. Have you lost your gills? Sharks and minnows can't be friends. Hello, sharks eat minnows. Nugget was shocked and apparently delicious. That afternoon, Nugget explained it all to Fang. Sharks are toothy, sharks are scary, sharks and minnows can't be friends. Sounds fishy to me, said Fang. It's true, see, said Nugget. He held up his chest. Then he swam far, far away. Fang's heart sank. There was nothing he could do about being toothy, but he needed his best buddy back. He had to prove he wasn't scary. On Tuesday, Minnie Minnows had a surprise visitor. A very big surprise visitor. The visitor gave Nugget his friendliest smile. Shark! Swim for your lives! Oh, my algae, said Nugget. It's Fang! On Wednesday, Fang tried a different approach. Dear Nugget, I'd love to have you over for dinner. Sincerely, Fang. He wants to eat you for dinner? Holy mackerel, said Nugget. On Thursday, Fang tried everything he could think of. A tattoo, a special delivery, you're fantastic. A song and dance, but nothing worked. On Friday, Fang was out of ideas. All alone, he swam over. Blub. He swam under. Blub, blub. He swam all around. Blub, blub, swoop. Life was not even close to perfect. Fang was so busy boo-hooing, he didn't notice a net drop down, 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 right on the mini minnows. Oh no! I feel seasick. We're the catch of the day! The net pulled up, up, up. Somebody help! Fang squinted. Nugget? He had to do something, but what? Fang fanned his gills. He wrung his fins. Then... Ping! Fang had a plan. Danger, shark sighted. Big, sharp teeth. Fang's big, sharp teeth chomped. Fang's big, sharp teeth chewed. Fang saved the mini minnows. All the minnows stared. I know, said Fang. I'm toothy, too scary, too... shark. Wait! Nugget swam toward Fang. There were 10 minnows, he said, and a very special shark came along. How many friends are there all together? There was only one answer. In the deep, deep ocean lived 11 friends. They swam over, glug. They swam under, glug, glug. They swam all around, glug, glug, glug. And everyone was all smiles, especially you know who. Fang's food chain. Thanks for watching. Click subscribe. Shark Lady, the true story of how Eugenie Clark became the ocean's most fearless scientist. Written by Jess Keating. Illustrations by Marta Alvarez McGinns. It was Saturday, and Eugenie wanted to stay at the aquarium forever. She wanted to smell the damp, salty air and stare at the glittery rainbow of fish. She wanted to keep watching her favorite animals, the sharks. Eugenie pretended she was walking on the bottom of the sea. What would it be like to swim with her sharks? To breathe underwater with gills of her own? More than anything, she wanted to find out. When the summer came, Eugenie's mother took her to swim at the beach in Atlantic City. Stuffing sticky gum into her ears to keep the water out, Eugenie dove down, down, down. The salt stung her eyes, but she didn't want to miss a single fish. Constellations of sea stars speckled the pebbled sand. She imagined a silvery fin standing strong on her back, slicing through the ocean current. To others, sharks were ugly and scary, but Eugenie knew they were beautiful. As she glided through the cool water, she wished everyone could see sharks through her eyes. But the sharks were only in her mind, for now. Eugenie decided to learn everything she could about them. This time into books. Whale sharks, nurse sharks, tiger sharks, lemon sharks. Eugenie wanted to know about them all. She also joined the Queens County Aquarium Society as its youngest member. Eugenie's notebooks filled with sharks. They swam in her daydreams and on the margins of her pages. At home, Eugenie's mother surprised her with an aquarium of her own. A 15-gallon tank was much too small for sharks, but Eugenie saved her allowance to buy guppies, clownfish, and coral red snails. It felt as big as an ocean in her room. Their small apartment became an aquarium, a laboratory, and a sanctuary. As she grew older, many were still telling Eugenie what to do. Forget those sharks. Be a secretary. Be a housewife. Eugenie wanted to study zoology, but some of her professors thought women weren't smart enough to be scientists or brave enough to explore the oceans. And they said sharks were mindless monsters. Eugenie knew better. Her dream was as big as a whale shark. So again, Eugenie dove. She plunged into every course she could. Her laboratory became her home. From sunrise to sunset, she studied how fish grow, how they behave, and how they were put together, both inside and out. Despite all of the people who didn't believe in her, Eugenie was becoming one of the smartest students in her field. Even after she earned her degree, many still doubted her. But Eugenie's work was just beginning. Eager to make discoveries of her own, Eugenie finally dove into the open ocean. In the Red Sea, Eugenie collected hundreds of fish, including 3 new species that had not been discovered before: Red Sea sand diver, barred xenia pipefish, volcano tripplefin. On a research mission exploring the Palau Islands, Eugenie was diving alone when she encountered her first ever wild shark. She wasn't afraid. Instead, she thought it was beautiful. In Isla Mujeres, she dispelled the myth that sharks must keep moving to stay alive when she swam through dark caves, still and silent, full of resting sharks. Eugenie's daring heart grew bolder with each dive. Soon, they began to call her Shark Lady. Eugenie had proven she was smart enough to be a scientist and brave enough to explore the oceans. As her courage grew, she began to love and understand her beloved sharks more and more. But she never forgot many still believed that sharks were mindless killers. Because of their scary reputation, humans were hunting sharks all over the world. Eugenie knew that sharks weren't stupid or mean. She was determined to prove everyone wrong. Eugenie fished through her mind and devised a brilliant experiment. Could she train a shark the way a person trains a dog? Were sharks much smarter than anyone knew? They were. Eugenie was the first scientist in the world to train sharks, and even learned they could remember their training for at least 2 months after. Sharks were not mindless killers. Sharks were beautiful. Sharks were smart. They deserved to be studied, protected, and loved. And Eugenie's dream was now a dream come true. Eugenie Clark Timeline. May 4th, 1922. Eugenie is born in New York. Her mother, Yumiko, was of Japanese descent. Her American father, Charles Clark, passed away before Eugenie was 2 years old. 1931. Eugenie visits the New York Aquarium at Battery Park and sees living sharks for the first time. Eugenie's mother buys her a 15-gallon aquarium as an early Christmas present. 1942. Eugenie earns her Bachelor of Arts in Zoology from Hunter College. 1946. Eugenie earns her master's degree in zoology. 1950. Eugenie becomes Dr. Eugenie Clark, earning her doctorate in zoology and a scholarship to study fish in the Red Sea. 1953. Eugenie publishes her first book, Lady with a Spear. 1959. Eugenie discovers the belted sandfish, a species of fish that can change its sex in as little as 10 seconds. Eugenie's groundbreaking work on lemon sharks is published. She is the first scientist to train sharks to push a target or ring a bell to receive food. 1968 to 1969. Eugenie becomes a professor of zoology at the University of Maryland. Eugenie publishes a second book of her adventures called The Lady and the Sharks. Eugenie begins writing columns and articles for National Geographic magazine. Eugenie discovers the Moses sole, produces toxins that repel sharks. 1973. Eugenie enters an underwater cave in the Yucatan Peninsula, full of resting sharks. She is the first to study them. 1981. Eugenie hitches a ride on the back of a whale shark. 1983. Egypt's first national park, the Ras Mohammed National Park, is established partly due to Eugenie's work in the area. She is a strong advocate for conservation and loves the beauty and diversity of the Red Sea. 1986. Eugenie dives deep on her first trip in a submersible. In her life, she will make over 70 submersible dives to explore the ocean. These trips take her up to 12,000 feet deep. 1999. Eugenie moves to Sarasota with her family and begins working at the Moat Marine Laboratory. 2004. Eugenie injures her ankle on a diving expedition and is seen by doctors. They discover she has lung cancer and she is treated with chemotherapy. May 2014. Eugenie celebrates her 92nd birthday by scuba diving with a group of divers in Jordan and Israel. February 25, 2015. Eugenie Clark passes away in her home in the company of her family. Thanks for watching. Click subscribe. Sharks by Gail Gibbons. Sharks live in oceans. They are fish. There are about 350 different kinds of sharks. There are small sharks, big sharks, and huge sharks. The first sharks lived more than 400 million years ago, 200 million years before dinosaurs walked the earth. Most of them were only about 3 feet long. Later, sharks grew to be bigger. Some were enormous. One of them was Carcharodon megalodon. Sharks are not like other fish. Fish have smooth scales. Sharks' bodies are covered with scales called denticles that have sharp little teeth in them. Most fish skeletons are made of bone. Shark skeletons are not made up of bone, but a softer elastic material called cartilage. Denticles. Pectoral fins balance and lift the shark. Pelvic fins. Dorsal fin. The caudal fin pushes the shark forward when it is moved back and forth. Sharks breathe by drawing water into their mouths as they swim. When the water passes the gills, it touches small blood vessels. These blood vessels take the oxygen from the water to keep the sharks alive. Unlike other fish, most sharks must keep moving to make the water flow over their gills. Sharks have 5 or 6 or 7 gill openings on each side. Other fish usually have 1 gill opening on each side. Sharks have sharp senses that work together. They have inner ears. Their ears are tubes running under their skin to their skulls. They can hear distant sounds, even a heartbeat. On the sides of their bodies are small holes called lateral line organs. They are sensitive to movement in the water and can help guide the shark to what is moving. Lateral line organs. Sharks can use electricity to hunt too. All living creatures in the water give off small electrical signals. Sharks have tiny holes in their faces called ampullae. They pick up the signals that guide the sharks in the right direction. Sharks also have a very good sense of smell. They can tell the direction a smell is coming from, sometimes a mile away. Ampullae. Sharks' eyes are sensitive to light. They can see things underwater where light is often dim. Sharks don't use their teeth for chewing. They use their teeth to tear, bite, and crush food. Most sharks have more than 4 rows of teeth. Their front teeth do all the work. When a shark loses a tooth, it will soon be replaced by a new one. New teeth move up from the second row. They replace worn out or missing teeth in the front row. The teeth in the third and fourth rows move forward too. Different sharks have teeth that are different sizes and shapes. Bull shark tooth, tiger shark tooth, mako shark tooth, great white shark tooth. Shark babies are born 2 ways. Some sharks lay tough, thorny-cased eggs on or near the bottom of the ocean. It takes a few weeks before the baby sharks chew their way out of the egg cases and swim away. Other sharks develop from eggs inside the mother's body. Usually, it takes about a year before these babies are born alive. Shark babies can care for themselves from the minute they are born. They are called pups. Here's the egg. And here's the pup. Most sharks are not dangerous. Of the 350 kinds of sharks, only about 30 species have been known to attack people. This rarely happens. When it does, it usually is because the shark has mistaken the movement of a person for the movement of a fish or something else it is hunting. The smallest shark is the dwarf shark. It is only 6 inches long. Sharks are different shapes and sizes. Bull sharks are about 10 feet long. They are fierce and aggressive. They've been known to attack people who are swimming. Bull sharks are the only kind of shark that can live in fresh water. On rare occasions, they are spotted swimming in rivers. Blue sharks usually live in deep waters. They migrate thousands of miles to have their babies and search for new food. Mako sharks can be up to 11 feet long and can swim as fast as 43 miles an hour. They can be dangerous. Tiger sharks can grow up to 17 feet long. They are often found in shallow water. Tiger sharks eat fish, seabirds, crabs, turtles, and even smaller sharks. They are one of the most dangerous sharks. The thresher shark can be up to 20 feet long. It has a very long, powerful tail. It eats small fish and usually doesn't bother people. Nurse sharks often hide in underwater caves and reefs for long periods of time. They have strong, blunt teeth. They eat fish, shrimp, lobster, sea urchins, and crabs. Hammerhead sharks can be almost 20 feet long and are strange looking. Their heads are flat and shaped like a double-headed hammer. They eat fish, squid, crabs, and stingrays. Hammerhead sharks live in shallow, warm waters and have been known to attack people. Great white sharks are famous for being the most dangerous and fiercest members of the shark family. They will eat large fish, other sharks, and even whales. It has very strong jaws and hundreds of teeth, sometimes 3 inches long. Each tooth has a sharp, jagged edge like a saw blade. The basking shark is very large and can grow to be about 35 feet long. It is slow-moving and generally harmless. It eats small animals and plant life called plankton. The basking shark likes to swim near the surface of the water, sometimes in large groups. The whale shark is the biggest fish that ever existed. It can be 60 feet long and weigh up to 15 tons. Although it is very strong and powerful, it eats only plankton and small fish. The whale shark never attacks people or even large fish. It swims slowly and lazily, usually just below the surface of the water. For many years, sharks have been fished and hunted by people. Before sandpaper was invented, people used shark skin to smooth and polish wood. Indians used sharp, hard shark teeth for arrowheads. Others use shark teeth for jewelry. Today, in some places, shark skin is used to make shoes, purses, and belts. Also, shark meat is used for food. There is sport fishing, too. Some species have been fished and hunted to the point where there is concern about their survival. Sharks play an important role. Like all other ocean life, it is good to protect these mysterious and marvelous creatures and the sea in which they live. Scientists and people can learn a lot from studying sharks. To know about sharks is to admire and respect them. Thanks for watching. Click subscribe. She Persisted, 13 American Women Who Changed the World. Written by Chelsea Clinton. Illustrated by Alexandra Boyger. Sometimes being a girl isn't easy. At some point, someone may tell you your dreams are impossible. Don't listen to them. These 13 American women didn't. They persisted. Harriet Tubman was born a slave, but her story doesn't end there. She persisted, escaping from slavery and leading her family, friends, and strangers to freedom. I should fight for my liberty as long as my strength lasted. Once Helen Keller became blind and deaf, few people thought she'd ever be able to read, write, or speak. But she persisted and learned how to do all three and used her story to work for more opportunities for people with disabilities around the world. one can never consent to creep when one feels an impulse to soar. After her family fled Ukraine for a new home in New York City, Clara Lemlich got a job working at a factory with terrible conditions. She persisted and helped secure better conditions for thousands of workers. I am one of those who suffers from the abuses described here, and I move that we go on a general strike. Nellie Bly was determined to become a reporter, even though some men said it wasn't something women could do. At times putting her safety at risk, she persisted throughout her career in exposing how badly people were being treated. I have never written a word that did not come from my heart. I never shall. From an early age, Virginia Apgar was determined to be a doctor. She persisted in creating the Apgar score to test a newborn baby's health, which hospitals all over the world still use today. Nobody, but nobody, is going to stop breathing on me. Maria Tallchief was teased in school for her Native American heritage and later told to change her name to something that sounded Russian. She persisted, ignoring the taunting and bad advice, to become the first great American prima ballerina. It never occurred to me to say, it hurts to do that. As a 15-year-old African-American girl, Claudette Colvin was expected to give up her seat on the bus to a white woman. In her refusal to get up, she persisted in taking a stand for what's right, inspiring others, including Rosa Parks, to stay seated for equal rights and justice. I knew then, and I know now, that when it comes to justice, there is no easy way to get it. You can't sugarcoat it. You have to take a stand and say, this is not right. When Ruby Bridges was in kindergarten, many schools still refused African American students their equal rights to an education. She had to walk through protesters to get to school, but she persisted, integrating an all-white elementary school in New Orleans. That fateful walk to school began a journey, and we all must work together to continue moving forward. As the first woman to serve as both a U.S. representative and a U.S. senator, Margaret Chase Smith could have let that be her legacy. Instead, she persisted in championing women's rights, standing up for free speech, and supporting space exploration. The right way is not always the popular and easy way. Standing for right when it is unpopular is a true test of moral character. Sally Ride always believed women could succeed in any math or science career. She persisted and became the first American woman in space, and then created programs to help generations of young women achieve their dreams. Young girls need to see role models in whatever careers they may choose, just so they can picture themselves doing those jobs someday. You can't be what you can't see. When, as a kid, Florence Griffith Joyner visited her father, he would urge her to run as fast as a jackrabbit. She persisted in believing she could, and at the 1988 Summer Olympics became the fastest woman ever. When anyone tells me I can't do anything, I'm just not listening anymore. Oprah Winfrey's grandmother expected Oprah to become a maid. Oprah knew that her dreams would take her somewhere else. She persisted and became a media superstar, hosting the highest-rated talk show of all time. The biggest adventure you can ever take is to live the life of your dreams. Watching fictional judges on television inspired Sonia Sotomayor to want to be a real-life judge. She persisted, eventually becoming a Supreme Court justice and the first ever Latina to sit on America's highest court. I have never had to face anything that could overwhelm the native optimism and stubborn perseverance I was blessed with. So, if anyone ever tells you no, if anyone ever says your voice isn't important or your dreams are too big, remember these women. They persisted, and so should you. Thanks for watching. Click subscribe. The Night Before St. Patrick's Day by Natasha Wing, illustrated by Amy Wummer. 'Twas the night before St. Patrick's, the day to wear green. Not a creature was stirring, except Tim and Maureen. They decked out the den from ceiling to floor, with streamers and rainbows and shamrocks galore. Later they carefully made traps with gold charms and rings, I bet we catch a leprechaun. They love shiny things, for if they caught one, so the legend told, they'd find where he buried his big pot of gold. They set all the traps round the room with great care, in hopes a wee Irishman soon would be theirs. The children then nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of golden coins danced in their heads. "Happy St. Patty's," said Dad early the next morning. Then he started to play bagpipes without warning. He huffed and he puffed an old Irish song. Mom dished out green eggs and sang loudly along. When from their bedroom there arose such a clatter, the kids ran down the hallway to see what was the matter, and what to their wondering eyes should appear? But a terrible mess! A leprechaun was here! "Be quiet," whispered Maureen. "He's hiding somewhere. When we find him, remember, we must hold his stare. For if you look away, if you so much as blink, leprechauns vanish, quick as a wink." The kids trailed muddy footprints, back and forth, crossed the floor, which led them under Tim's bed and past the closet door. And then, inside a trap, they heard someone giggling. A real live leprechaun! They both saw him wriggling. His eyes, how they twinkled, his body so tiny, his hand clasped a trinket so golden and shiny. He was dressed in all green, from his head to his toes, and he looked like a cobbler wearing fairy-sized clothes. The children approached him, staring straight in his eyes. "Tell us where the gold is. Don't be tricky. No lies." "I buried it under a rock, smooth and hard. It's marked with an X right in your backyard." But when the kids went outside with their shovel and pick, they instantly saw it had been a big trick. "Ha ha, I fooled you. It's time to disappear. Happy St. Patty's Day to you, and better luck next year." Thanks for watching. Click subscribe. Thomas and the Leprechaun by Christy Webster, illustrated by Dynamo Limited. It was a bright and breezy spring day on the island of Sodor. There was a beautiful rainbow in the sky, and Thomas was on his way to pick up his first delivery. Just as he was about to pull into the station, Thomas thought he saw something unusual. It looked like a little man dressed in green, running behind a building. Thomas stopped beside Emily. He was going to ask her if she'd seen the man too, when Sir Topham Hatt greeted the engines. "Good morning," he said. "Today is a very special day. It is St. Patrick's Day. I need all my engines to make deliveries for the celebration." "You should get your work done early today, Thomas," James teased. "Then maybe you'll have time to search for the leprechaun's gold." Thomas didn't know what James was talking about. "The leprechaun's gold is a St. Patrick's Day legend," Emily explained. "They say a little man dressed in green hides his treasure at the end of the rainbow. Anyone who finds it is very lucky." Thomas set out for his pickup, but he couldn't stop thinking about the leprechaun he might have seen. Thomas hoped he'd see the man in green again. Thomas worked hard all morning making his deliveries. After his final drop-off, Thomas got his wish. He saw a flash of green behind a tree before it disappeared. Thomas hurried around the bend. Behind the tree, he did find something green. It was Percy. "Thomas, I'm so glad you're here," Percy peeped. He had derailed going around the bend too fast. "I was supposed to pick up the St. Patrick's Day soda bread from the bakery." Thomas loved to help his friends. As Thomas set off toward the bakery, he wondered if he'd seen the leprechaun at all. At the bakery, Thomas looked up at the sky and saw another rainbow. It was even bigger and brighter than the one that morning. After dropping off the soda bread, Thomas decided to follow the rainbow. As he chugged up a big hill, Thomas saw a golden gleam just over the horizon. Could it be? He wondered. But it was only Rebecca. Her freshly washed yellow paint was shining in the sun. "The washdown took ages this morning," Rebecca said. "I'm supposed to pick up the green St. Patrick's Day costumes at the tailor, but I'm way behind." Thomas offered to help. As he was leaving the tailor's shop, Thomas saw the man in green running in the same direction he needed to go. This was his chance. He would follow the leprechaun to the treasure. Thomas tried to catch up, but the leprechaun was gone. The only one around was Emily. Thomas! Emily exclaimed. The Irish dancers are here early. Someone needs to pick them up at the docks. Thomas wanted to look for the leprechaun, but he volunteered to help. Thomas dropped off the green costumes and the Irish dancers for the St. Patrick's Day parade. Finally, everything was where it should be. He looked up and saw the rainbow again. It was arching down right at the end of his branch line. Thomas was about to take off toward the rainbow when Sir Topham Hatt came running up to him. Our guest of honor got lost on his way to the parade, Sir Topham Hatt cried. Thomas, I need you to go pick him up. Thomas was disappointed to leave the rainbow behind, but he wanted to help Sir Topham Hatt and the guest of honor. When Thomas arrived to pick up the guest, he couldn't believe his eyes. Standing on the platform was the man in green he had been chasing all day. Are you a leprechaun? Thomas asked. I am today, the man replied. I'm playing the leprechaun in the St. Patrick's Day parade. I thought I would explore the island before it started, but I got lost. Thank you for helping me. Everyone cheered when Thomas delivered the special guest to the St. Patrick's Day parade. Thomas didn't find the leprechaun or gold that day, but celebrating with friends was the best treasure. Thanks for watching. Click subscribe. Thomas and the Robot. It was a busy day on the island of Sodor. A technology fair was taking place at the Ulfsted Castle. Inventors from all over the world were bringing marvelous machines to the fair. Thomas had lots to do. All aboard! All aboard! Thomas sang out. He took passengers up to Ulfsted Castle and pulled some very important inventions. Rocket booster coming through! Rocket booster coming through! Puffed Thomas. He even guided a car plane to the fair. Clickety-clack, clickety-clack. When the fair finally opened, there were inventions everywhere. A huge robot called Metal Man stomped past Thomas. Clink, clink, clink. Welcome to the future, said Sir Topham Hatt. Thomas was excited, but he was worried. With all these new inventions, would he and his friends from the steam team be part of the future too? Thomas was determined to show Sir Topham Hatt how useful he could be, just as useful as any robot. All day long, he chuffed faster than he'd ever gone before. Puff, 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 panted poor Thomas. At the next station, the guard was waiting on the platform. Watch out on the tracks today, Thomas. There's a silver machine on the rails. It's the fastest thing on Sodor. It's probably another robot, Thomas sighed. When Thomas rolled in at Ulfsted Castle, the silver machine was by the platform. It wasn't a robot at all. It was a high-speed train from Japan, the fastest in the world. I'm Kenji, said the train. You must be Thomas. Thomas loved meeting new friends, but he still felt worried. With robots and faster trains, would Sir Topham Hatt want to replace him? Thomas, look, giggled Kenji. A flying car buzzed right over Thomas. Buzz, buzz. Thomas didn't notice two men climbing into Kenji's cab. Sir Topham Hatt started shouting. Thieves, he cried. Those men have stolen the blueprints for the flying car. Thomas, help! Kenji shouted. But it was too late. The thieves shot off down the track in Kenji. Whoosh! Thomas knew he could never catch up with the fastest train in the world. But he had an idea, and he needed the help of the machines. Thomas coupled himself to the rocket booster, and whoosh! The rocket roared to life and pushed Thomas faster, faster, faster. Must catch up! Must catch up! Thomas puffed. Whir, whir, whir! Sparks fizzed from Thomas's wheels. Thomas uncoupled himself from the rocket truck and overtook Kenji. The signal person changed the points, and all at once, Thomas was in front of Kenji. Screech! Kenji ground to a stop. Quick as a flash, the thieves escaped with the plans. They've got away, puffed Thomas. Hang on! What's that noise? Clink, clink, clink. It was Metal Man and Sir Topham Hatt. The giant robot was holding the thieves up in the air. Thomas and the robot saved the day, said Kenji. The machines are much stronger and faster than me, said Thomas. Maybe they are the future of Sodor. Oh no, I'd never replace my engines, said Sir Topham Hatt. Steam engines are the greatest invention of all time. Thomas blushed from the boiler to buffer. He didn't need to worry about robots or faster trains. Sodor would always need the steam team. But Thomas had to admit, robots could be very useful too. Beep beep. Thanks for watching. Click subscribe. The Three Little Fish and the Big Bad Shark by Ken Geist and Julia Gorton. Once upon a time, there lived a mama fish and her three little fish, Jim, Tim, and Kim. "It is now time," said the mama, "for each of you to make a home in the deep blue sea." So off they went. The first little fish, named Jim, swam away and met a seahorse playing in some seaweed. "Can I have some of the seaweed so I can build a house?" "Take as much as you can carry," said the seahorse. Jim gathered the seaweed and made a wee little house. Jim had just finished building his seaweed house when he heard the big bad shark knocking at the door. Little fish, let me come in." The little fish trembled and replied, "Not by the skin on my finny fin fin." "Then I'll munch, and I'll crunch, and I'll smash your house in," roared the shark. So the big bad shark munched and he crunched and he ate up every bit of the seaweed house, and Jim swam away just in time. Soon Jim found his brother. Tim said, "Don't worry, Jim, we fish stick together. You can help me build a sandy little house." Jim and Tim had just started to relax in the sandy little house when the big bad shark came knocking at the door. Little fish, let me come in." To which the brave little fish replied, "Not by the skin of my finny fin fin." "Then I'll munch, and I'll crunch, and I'll smash your house in," roared the shark. So the big bad shark munched and he crunched until he got a sandy mouthful, and the house crumbled. Jim and Tim swam and swam until they reached their sister, Kim. Kim was setting up her house in an old wooden ship. "The big bad shark destroyed our houses." "Don't worry, you can live with me," said Kim, and they did. The three little fish had just finished lunch when they heard the big bad shark knocking at their door. Little fish, let me come in." To which the smart fish replied, "Not by the skin on my finny fin fin." "Then I'll munch, and I'll crunch, and I'll smash your house in," roared the shark. The big bad shark munched and he crunched, but he could not smash the house in, and all his teeth fell out. The three little fish were safe at last. Thanks for watching. Click subscribe